A second family now coming forward after one of our I-Team investigations. A stranger signing off on a Manatee County man's cremation without his family's knowledge. His daughter tells ABC Action News he died back in 2015. His death certificate, well, it was signed by a woman listed as his niece, and we've learned she wasn't related to him at all. Now she wants answers into how this happened. I-Team investigator Kylie McGiver joins us now. Kylie, I just can't imagine. This must be so alarming for those family members, loved ones, and they must just be asking themselves, how? How does something like this happen?
Oh, absolutely. And what was most jarring to them is they watched our original investigation where this happened with another family. It was a veteran who was cremated by a nephew who was also not a family member. They saw that and thought, oh my gosh, this has happened to someone else. There must be something allowing this to happen. And what it is the state really doesn't require anything in terms of asking for IDs when someone goes to sign off on a cremation, which is pretty surprising. At least it was to us.
Yeah, you would kind of expect that that'd be kind of the no-dub moment, that would happen, and that was the gap in state law that you found out is really at the root of this issue.
Well, it's one of the things we found. One thing we found, again, you do not have to show any sort of identification. The other issue that we found is, well, it can become an issue at least, is there is nothing laying out here are all the steps a funeral home or a crematory has to take in order to attempt to contact actual family members. And certainly when people are watching this, they're thinking, like you said, how does this happen? Yeah. Well, at least the two families we've dealt with so far, there are strained relationships, but the problem is they were never given the opportunity to have that closure that comes with whether it be signing off on a cremation, whether it be deciding to bury that individual, or even having the decision to say, you know what, I don't want any part of this. And some families, that is the case, but they were never given that opportunity, and that's something that has really haunted these families, quite honestly.
Oh, for sure. You did sit down and talk to this daughter?
Yes, we did meet with this daughter. She lives out in Venice, and so not only that this is happening more than once, but we're finding it's happening in the Tampa Bay area. So take a listen to what she had to say to us.
Well, when we first saw his death certificate, we honest to God, we questioned, is this really our dad? You know, because his name was spelt wrong. His mother's name, the person claiming to be a surviving relative, all that was incorrect.
So I have to ask, as an investigator, you go into these deep dives of stories. This really sounds like a crazy circumstance. Your first profile was in Hernando or Citrus County?
Yes, exactly. Lived in Hernando, city of Hernando in Citrus County. So yes, totally different area.
And did you imagine that something like this would be repeated here right in our area?
Well, I think what was crazy for us is the more that we looked into it, the more we realized this could happen. It could happen somewhat easily if someone just comes in and doesn't really prove their connection to this person. Now, what the motivations for that may be in terms of taking over someone's estate, taking their belongings, I'm not going to pretend to know at this point what exactly some of those reasons are, but we saw that there was just a system that in our mind is ripe for abuse because there aren't those checks and balances necessarily. So to answer your question, we thought, okay, this could happen, has it? And then quickly after our investigation, others started reaching out, including this family that could not believe the similarities.
And that's what's the important work being done here by your investigation, is exposing the problem, and now we look at potential solutions to this problem. So are there any fixes in the work up in Tallahassee, state lawmakers, officials? Are there any steps loved ones can take to ensure that something like this just doesn't happen to them? Sure.
Well, we're reaching out and alerting lawmakers that this is even an issue. I mean, for the phone calls that we've made so far, they start very similarly, which is, wait, what? What are you talking about here exactly?
Imagine.
And so what now we have to do basically in terms of if there is any hope for a change is show that this wasn't just a one-off situation. We know of at least one other. Is there a pattern? Are there others? So that's something that we're going through right now, is bringing this to lawmakers because one idea, I'm not a lawmaker, but potentially having some sort of ID check could be a first step. And what is happening now that we've gotten involved is there is a state agency that oversees and licenses funeral homes, crematories. They have now gotten involved in both incidents, we can say, to look into if there's anything else that should have been done in these incidents. And we don't have the answers to that yet. Our first investigation, it's an ongoing investigation when it comes to the state. I'm not sure what they'll find, because at least the way that we're looking at it, certain laws aren't in place. So were there other things that should have happened? We're certainly going to be interested to see that.
For sure, and of course you are alerting the people who matter in this to see if we can bring about some type of positive change to ensure this doesn't happen again. I'm sure these families are very thankful for the work that you're doing, and our I-Team, of course, as well. So tonight we hear from a couple of key players in this case.
Yes.
Let's talk about 11 o'clock tonight.
Yes, so the woman whose name was actually on the death certificate that kind of led this family down that path of knowing what crematory to go to, finding out when their father passed. They found out it was a few weeks after he passed that they learned of this, just by looking in and calling the state, because they had not been in touch with their father for the last couple of years, and they started to wonder, is he still alive? Is he okay? And that's when they found this out. So the person that did make the decision, signed off on the cremation, who's not a family member, you will hear from that person tonight. We were able to get in contact with her, and she explains her side of the story and why she did what she did.
Very good. I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern here for us, giving us a little preview of what we can expect for her big story tonight at 11 o'clock on ABC Action News.